Welcome to a new series from One Resource Floating, where we talk about decks that we personally use and how to pilot them. If you haven't yet, feel free to subscribe to our content, hit the notification bell so that you can see when our videos go live, and join the Discord so you can talk to other people about Flesh and Blood and maybe some other games that you're interested in. Thank you to everyone who has viewed our content, enjoyed our content, left feedback, and I hope you enjoy what's coming. Hello everyone, welcome to One Resource Floating. We're going to do a quick deck chat about Ira. This is one of my favorite Blitz decks. I've top 8'd every time in the recent skirmish season that I've played it. And overall it's been very consistent and it does what I like it to do. So Ira's ability is the second attack each turn gains 1 attack. And the Kodachis, which are her preferred weapon, is once per turn action. It's 1 resource to attack. If there is a card with cost 0 in your pitch zone, the Kodachi gains go again. So what I like to do with this deck is threaten a lot of card draw and send a lot of attacks. Things can be blocked out. 1 attack, 1 damage isn't really scary, which is what the Kodachis do. But after a while, 1 becomes a lethal number. So let's talk about how to put that online and put your opponent into that position. You'll find that your opponent doesn't block a lot in the beginning, except for they want to stop the mask from triggering. So Mask of Momentum is your star headpiece. It's when an attack action card you control is the 3rd or higher chain link in a row to hit, draw a card. So the key thing there is it does 3 do have to hit. So you can't have 1 hit and the 3rd hit and the 2nd be blocked. So you're always making sure that the 3rd attack can hit. And usually people, if they have played against Ira, if they have experience, they're going to block the 2nd Kodachi, which is coming in for 2. And we're going to kind of predict that a little bit and play around it. And we'll talk about how we're going to do that in the deck. Chess pieces, Tunic. That is the standard go-to. I can't say that Tunic has ever steered me wrong in this deck, but I don't feel like I have to rely on Tunic. So when it's there, it's nice. When it's not, I don't feel like I need it. Also, your alternate is going to be a set of Null Rune for each of the positions. So Null Rune Boots, Null Rune Robe, and Null Rune Gloves. So you're going to have Arcane Barrier 3 throughout the game. And I think that is going to be standard. So the arm piece that you're going to use primarily is going to be Breaking Scales. It has Battle Worn 1. So you can block an attack, and Breaking Scales is still on the table, enough for you to bump an attack action if you need to. That has combo. And lastly, we have 2 that you can swap out, Snapdragon Scalers or Breeze Rider Boots. So Snapdragons are going to be really key for giving something go again. It's an attack action card that costs 1 or less, and that's going to be a majority of the deck. Breeze Rider Boots can give things with combo go again, but that's not too prevalent. You're going to mostly use it for the block. You might use it toward the end of the game for those combo pieces if you feel like it's going to be a long or fatigue game and that's left in your deck. So let's talk about what is in it and how to go from there. So first thing I have is 2 Sigil of Solaces, and they're red. So that's gain 3 life, cost 0. In a pinch, I can swing with the Kodachi, but that's typically not what they're going to do. They're going to gain life. Typically, the Sigil of Solace is there in the beginning. If I draw 1, then I can play it if I'm going second. But it's going to bump me back up because the next card is going to be Nourishing Emptiness. So if I find I have this in my opening hand, I do want to hold on to it. It's not going to have go again, so make sure that you do all your attacks. Stay consistent. Do not break the chain, and play Nourishing Emptiness if you have the ability to do so. If you're going second, if you're going first, then the same thing. It's not going to matter, and it's going to be a little bit easier. Going off of Nourishing Emptiness, I'm going to play a red even bigger than that. And that's typically going to come in if you swing a Kodachi for 1. No one wants to block the Kodachi for 1. So go ahead and play even bigger than that. Give your next attack go again, and we will go from there. I'm going to put these to the side so we have some room. Next is going to be Something I love to play off even bigger than that is Push the Point. Push the Point might end up being a finisher because it doesn't naturally have go again. But if it's your second attack, so if that first Kodachi hit, because usually that's not blocked, as your second hit, that's going to come in for 7. If you don't have that, if you want to use Snapdragons, you can give it go again. You can also find yourself at the end of the turn or arsenaling it if you don't have a convenient spot for that Push the Point to come through. But it will be kind of surprising. Next I have Whirling Mist Blossom, which is an Iris specialization. If that comes in as a second attack, it's going to be 3, but it's going to come in standard as 2. If it hits and it's the second or higher chain link in a row to hit, draw 2 cards. Typically, I'll swing with the Kodachi, and then I will swing with the Whirling Mist Blossom, which is going to be 3, and then I will try to bump it. And typically, good things to bump it are going to be your Razor Reflex. That gives things go again and +3. Can also be played on Push the Point. Ancestral Empowerment, which is just give something +1 and draw a card. It's a ninja attack, but that it has to buff, which Whirling Mist Blossom fits that bill. Also, we have a Lunging Press in here. This is going to be used mostly for Kodachi swings. You're going to pitch this card. It might come in handy if you're trying to bump something up to get a Mass Trigger or Whirling Mist Blossom from 3 to 4. If they only block with 1 card from hand and block 3, then that sets you up to do another position, add on 1. Then they're a position where they have to use a defense reaction to block 1 damage, or they might have something unlucky there. I do have some E-Strikes in the deck, and kind of the theme here is typically the second or the third attack I want to be really big. So the E-Strike is going to come in for 5 go again, or it can come in for 7. If I have played it often even bigger than that, then I'll choose the 7 and I'll have go again naturally. The E-Strike is going to be really key in everything I make happen here. And you can also choose to draw the card, but typically with the card draw, a lot of the attacks are going to rely on mask to get the card anyway, and you're gonna end up drawing cards. So I would say that's probably your least desired side, but that's another big attack to come in with. The next big attack is going to be a Flying Kick. So Kodachi, and then Flying Kick. That's coming in for 7 damage. It does cost 2, and it's one of the most expensive things in the deck if you don't count Enlightened Strike, where you have to bottom deck a card. But with Flying Kick, you can, by that time that you're going to play it, you should have a Tunic online, and then you'll be able to pitch a blue, Kodachi, remove the Tunic resource, play a Flying Kick. Torrent of Tempo, which is also going to cost 1. So this is, if it hits, it gets go again. So this is really good as a second attack. If you play it as a 6, the second attack, so it gets bumped by 1. So it's coming in as a 5. If you do the 6, then Ancestral Empowerment puts it to the +1, gives it go again. You can also be ready to Razor Reflex it just in case it gets blocked. There are lots of good tricks to do with that, and a lot of it is just faking out your opponent. Like if they see that you play a Torrent of Tempo and they put 3 cards down just to block it all out, well, guess what? That just made your turn easy because they're not going to do much to you. Next, we have an Exude Confidence. That's coming in for 4, and while it's played, it can't be defended by a card with, while it isn't defended by a card with equal or greater attack, the defending hero can't play or activate instance or defense reactions. And you do have a 3-cost instant to buff it +2. It's really easy to pitch a blue in this deck. There are going to be a lot of blues. I've only laid out one of them so far, but trust me, they're going to come. Next, we have 2 red 100 wins. That's if it's the last attack, it gets +1. So 100 wins is something with combo, so you can Breaking Scales that to give it +1. So these are really good as your third attack because they're at 3, so someone has to choose to block with 1 card or block with 2 if they think something is going to buff it. And that is assuming they didn't block the second card. So we have a blue 100 wins. It's going to come in for 1. Gets the +1 if the 100 wins was on before. And it gets, both of these get +1 for each 100 wins on the chain. Typically with the blue 100 wins, you're just going to pitch it for the Kodachi and the resource. But you're going to end up in that situation where you have 100 wins in your hand, and you're going to see what you can do from there. Next, we have Winds of Eternity. So if 100 wins was the last card this combat chain, it gets +2, and when it hits, shuffle all 100 wins back into your deck. So this is another thing. It's coming in for 2, but if you buff it with 100 wins, then it's going to be a 4. So if they didn't block, the last attack or so, maybe this is the one that's threatening the mask trigger. Then this goes to 4. They have to choose to block it with 2 cards instead of 1. Or if they choose to just block with, maybe a defense reaction, a Sink Below, or a Fate Foreseen that blocks for 4, then you find things to buff it with 1. Breaking Scales can add it to 1. The Ancestral Empowerments, etc. So the next, I have a lot of blues in here just to kind of get the ball rolling. So I have a blue Fine Center. Typically you'll pitch these, but you might play those off of a blue Crane Dance. And those are really good with, if you have even bigger than that, that creates the Quicken token. Breeze Rider Boots gives the combo things go again. If you choose Breeze Rider Boots. So those are all in the system to kind of help you out as needed. Ride the Tailwind. This can kind of be something that maybe you play around with and take out. This is probably the card I'm least happiest with, but I feel like I need it as a blue to kind of make everything work together. So by standard, it is just something that's 0 cost pitch for 3. You could try, maybe if you try to yellow Salt the Wound, you're going to find that you draw a lot of cards, you do a lot of things on the chain. Salt the Wound is going to get buffed and be a big attack. Rushing River, I have 1 blue Rushing River, and mostly, again, that is to pitch for Kodachi, and then an attack. I have a yellow Flick Flack in here as a defense reaction, and a blue Flick Flack as a defense reaction. The Flick Flacks are something that can change out to swing your Kodachis. You can also defend with them. Typically, I will use these to attack with the Kodachis. I'll defend with the yellows. Why do I want so many blue 0 costs? The pitch 3 comes in really handy, especially if you're running Arcane Barrier. If you find yourself against like a wizard, then pitch 3 is definitely helpful to have, as well as it sets up a lot of what you're going to do for the turn. So you pitch 1 blue, that's Kodachi, and then 1 attack. And then you have different ways you're going to buff what you're going to do. There are a lot of 0 costers in here to kind of add on to the chain and make everything go through. And the big thing with this deck is going to be mind games, making everyone fake out, thinking you're going to draw cards, Whirling Mist Blossom, Ancestral Empowerment, the Mask of Momentum. Those are going to be the big things that are really going to make people on edge and wonder about what's coming next. If you find that you're at your 3rd attack on the chain and you have a Razor Reflex in hand, then it's a time to do that. If you've only used 1 Razor Reflex, sometimes it's good just to keep that back, because if you have someone who's reading that you have a Razor Reflex, they're going to overblock. And they're going to consistently overblock to get cards out of their hands so you don't get a card in your hand. So playing the 2nd Razor is sometimes counterintuitive, but you really want to fill out the game and what you have. This is Ira, and I hope you guys have fun, and I hope you have a chance to build her. Thank you.